But here's the thing, let's be real, okay? You guys know I'm super real. We're going to set some expectations right now, okay? Even whenever, right? Even whenever I get people who want to throw a lot of money at me, I personally don't work with anyone who doesn't take social media seriously. I pretty much stay away from people who don't actively use it. And this is because over the years, I have found, and this is something that I have seen over and over again, that if you are not active on social media and you're running ads, the ads don't work as well and your ads are super, super expensive. How many of you guys have ever seen an ad for something that you're like, oh my gosh, I really want this, but then you go to the business page and they had just maybe started their business page a week ago and there's zero content on it? Or even worse, you went to their business page and the last time they posted was like 3 years ago and it was like a single post. What does that scream? Red flag, right? And so it does have an impact. And I even see it with some of you guys. It's actually funny because I have so many people that reach out to me and they were like, Laurel, I'm not even going to lie. Whenever I first saw your $7 program, I did think you were a scammer. I did think you were full of shit. But whenever I went to your Facebook business page and I saw that almost every single day you're posting a new live video and you're posting all of this content, I just knew that you were legit. I hear this all the freaking time. And so people are looking at the person behind the product. This is something that is new. And we're going to talk a little bit about how internet marketing has changed and the new direction that I feel is going to be sustainable over the next probably several years. Okay. Second thing is I don't work with anyone who has unrealistic timelines. I know that you've been promised that, like 90 days, you'll have success or whatever, right? Does that happen? Absolutely. To people who have absolute like validated offers, they have really good offers. Some people get lucky, but most of you guys who are sitting in this room right now, you're not going to get results in 90 days. I'll just tell you one thing right now, but here's what I can promise. After 90 days, if you do what we work on over the next 3 days and you consistently do it every single day for the next 90 days, we will have enough data to fix what is not working. I guarantee it. I see it all the time. Okay. So I don't work with anyone with unrealistic timelines. As a matter of fact, everyone that I want to work with, I tell them like minimum 90 days. Like if I don't have data, I can't help you. Like that's just how it is. Okay. This is a big one, because a lot of you guys think that your competitors are just doing 2, 5, or 10 times more than you're doing. They're not. They're doing more like 200 times. And I can promise you that, right? I hear this all the time in the $7 program. I see the same post that you guys do in the $7 program and I just shake my head. I'm like, I keep telling you guys, right? Like I have 12 ads that have literally built this $7 program, but it took me launching over 200 of them to get those winners. Your competitors are not putting out one piece of content a day. They are putting out 5 or 6 a day. If you're only putting out 1 to 2 pieces of content a week, your competitors are beating you by 200x, because a lot of them are putting out 5 to 6 pieces of content a day. That's just the way it is, right? Alex Hormozy said this really recently. He's like, do you want to win by luck or do you want to win by volume? Volume is a lot easier to win. Whenever you're putting out a lot of volume, right? The other night I was watching Shark Tank and one of the sharks said, there's no such thing as failure, only feedback. And so the more that you put out, the more feedback that you get that it's either good or bad, right? And so I'm going to show you guys how to, over the next 3 days, you're going to learn like how to look at your content and just find that one glimmer of hope that something works. And then we're going to optimize that. So, and let's be real, this will not work if you hate talking to people. I meet so many people who just don't want to talk to people. You're in the wrong business. That's not how it works. Your audience doesn't want your offer. Now, here's the thing. There's a difference between your audience not wanting your offer and your audience not wanting the thing that you sell. Those are two different things. Sometimes you just need to repackage your offer. And the only way to know that is by talking to your audience, right? Also, it will not work if you present yourself poorly online. I see this all the time. It just depends, like in what niche you are, right? Like whenever I first came out in the internet marketing space, I look the way that I do, right? Amy Porterfield Kat Howell, Rachel Peterson, all these very lovely looking women who show up in nice little outfits and makeup and hair and stuff like that. I am not that person. I was lucky that all of you guys adored me because I showed up the way that I am, right? Some niches, it doesn't work that way. And I just want to be upfront about that. Some niches want you to show up prim and proper. You know, if you are presenting yourself in front of lawyers, if you're presenting yourself in front of high performers, they're going to judge you by the way that you show up online. Just going to say this. I see it all the time. I actually just finished a research project for one of my Lean on Laurel students. And, you know, that was the feedback. Like, she didn't present herself online the way that her audience was expecting an expert in their field to show up. I'll give you guys another example, and this is a real thing. You know, let's just, you know, be real and honest. I have a guy who, he works out of India, and he literally joined my program, for me to help him with the language barrier. He's really talented at what he does, but he's having a hard time with the American market taking him seriously because of the way that he talks and his accent. And so there's a lot of barriers that sometimes we have to work on. Sometimes we have to work on tone. I'll give you guys just a quick story. So I was at a speakeasy, which is Steve Sims's mastermind. We were in New Orleans. I happen to live in New Orleans. And so I was like, hey, I've never been to a Steve Sims event. And he took us on a ghost tour, and there was two guides, right? And I went and talked to one of the guides. I was like, hey, where does your tour end? Because I live by the La La Wee Mansion, which is one of the most haunted houses in America. If you've ever seen American Horror Story, Coven, I live right by that, Madame La Laurie's mansion. And so I wanted to make sure, I was like, hey, where does your tour end? Because I don't want to walk all the way from downtown back to my house in the back of the quarter. And so he's like, well, I actually finished my tour at the La La Ray Mansion. And I was like, cool, I'm going with you. And so I was like, cool. He had a top hat. He was very reserved. There was the second tour guide walks into the hotel, and he's like, hey, and he's talking in this really fancy accent. He's dressed like Captain Jack Sparrow. And he is just very like, everyone in the room turned around, and I was like, man, did I just make a bad decision? Right. And so the whole tour, our tour guide was fine. He told great stories. He interacted with me because he knew I lived in the quarter. And so like, it was a great tour. My group had a really great time. And so the next day we all show up at the mastermind, and the other tour is just complaining about how awful their tour was. And I was like, that's surprising. I was like, your tour guide like looked like he was going to be freaking amazing. They were like, oh my God. They were like, he was all over the place. He felt like he was like on like pot or something. Like they were like, he was just all over the place. What did we learn there? We went to the same houses. We heard the same stories. Yet the delivery between those two tour guides completely gave us a completely different experience. One group had a great, amazing time, and the other one not so great. So here's what we can take away from that. And this is something I tell my Lean on Laurel students all the time, because I write a lot of their scripts for them. I can give you the most polished and well-written script, but if you deliver that poorly, it's ineffective. And so what I like to do is I like to just get people to practice over and over again. You have to work on your skill of talking in front of the camera. We have to get comfortable. A lot of people ask me, you know, Laurel, you're so comfortable in front of the camera. Well, it's because I spent 19 years behind the camera working in television, writing other people's lines, right? And so by the time I got in front of the camera, I had 19 years of being behind the camera, coaching people on how to deliver lines. So I'm not anyone special. I literally developed this skill over 19 years. So if you look at me and you're like, oh, Laurel, you're so good on camera. Well, there's some days I'm not. And I did have to like develop this myself, but I did have a head start. So another thing, you have to work on your skills. You know, I get so many people who are like, well, I'm delivering the scripts, I'm doing this, you know, I am doing everything that you're telling me. I had a student who came to me and she was like, I can get people on the phone, but I can't sell. And I asked her, I said, well, how many sales books have you read lately? And she's like, well, none. I'm like, what the hell? What are you doing? Like, you can't sell on the phone, but she's like, well, I was just hoping you could coach me. I'm like, coaching only goes so far. You still have to develop skills. Like, you still have to work, like, every single day. I take 30 minutes. My wife will tell you, it's whether like I'm taking a shower, listening to a podcast, walking, I'm doing something. There's 30 minutes that I dedicate to helping me fix something that is like the kink in my hose. Like, what is the most immediate constraint that I need to fix? Every single day for 30 minutes, I'm dedicating education time to try to fix that most immediate constraint. A lot of you guys, what you're doing is you're just listening to content just to listen to content to learn things. How I set aside that 30 minutes is to, what is the one thing that I need solved ASAP? That is what I'm dedicating that 30 minutes to doing. Okay. It also won't work if you try it for less than 90 days. Okay. So here's the reality. Internet marketing has changed drastically over the last year. I'm sure you guys have seen it. Funnels aren't working the way that they did just a year ago. As a matter of fact, a lot of my clients, they complain about it all the time. But we're moving into a new wave of marketing that's more interactive. That's the truth. And this is something that I have been preparing you guys for the last 6 years. And what do I mean by interactive marketing? Well, people don't want to hop on a sales call. They want to have a quick messenger conversation. They want to interact with us. This is something that even the big players are taking time to do. You're going to see more big players who are used to making 7, 8 figures a month that are now engaging with their audience more than ever because their funnels aren't working. And I see this over and over again. So if you think that, oh, like, well, I'm this little, peon or whatever, and this is why my funnel's not working. It's not true. Like, even some of the big players are having I run ads for some of the biggest players, and I guarantee you they're struggling with getting funnels to convert. And so that's why a lot of them, whenever they see me at a mastermind, they come to me and they're like, I need your help. How do I make this happen? All of the people that were making fun of me now want to be my friend. Like, I was made fun of so many years for this strategy, but now you see, like, even one of the biggest ones in the game, Cole Gordon, right? He was big for VSLs. Now, what is he teaching? A 2-step funnel that I teach you guys here, because VSLs are less and less effective. And this is just, it's not going to get any better. Internet marketing has just completely changed. People want to know who they're buying from. Okay. So that's just the reality. So, and this is a big one right here, but Laurel, what you do just isn't scalable. Okay. So when I tell people that they can get on average 30 to 40 times their return on ad spend, how many of you guys would love to get 30 to 40x ROAS with this strategy? People get super excited, right? By the way, my business is over $3 million and I have not even spent $150,000 in ads. Not even, like, it's crazy. But people get really excited. And then I like actually tell them what we're actually doing. And they're like, oh, they think that I'm just going to show them like some really cool hack or some like AI thing. And I'm like, no, like, you got to have conversations with people. And I'm going to show you guys how this actually works. And again, whether you are a complete beginner or whether you have a funnel, I'm going to show you guys how it works on both sides. Yeah, you got it. Like Adrian just said in the chat, gotta do the work. Okay. So when I tell them what the strategy actually is, they say things, well, that's not scalable. I don't have time for that. This was actually a conversation that happened inside the $7 program. I'm going to take a sip of my coffee. Because this is a major concern that so many of you guys have. And there's a reason that I want to share this conversation. And I don't want to embarrass the person who posted this, but it is a really great conversation to have as we're going into this. He says, hey guys, so he's getting some decent results when it comes to making messenger conversations. However, 100 messenger conversations in a month for me is something that is very time consuming and has a negative effect by myself being on my phone and on my computer 24 hours a day. I often find myself at times when I should be present with my family and my wife replying to messenger conversations. It feels like I'm on a call 24/7. Has anyone found a way to make 100 messenger conversations? However, do this in a healthy way that also provides freedom and flexibility rather than an overwhelming cloud to constantly solve people's problems over messenger at all hours of the day. I am here to say this. He says 100 conversations in a month is horrible. What if I told you guys that I have probably about 100 conversations with people over 3 days? and I only maybe take 30 minutes a day to do this, I get about 40 or 50 messenger conversations in my inbox every single day. If I can do this, I guarantee anyone can do this. By the way, whenever I first started this strategy, I was still working a full-time job in TV. I am no one special, guys. I just set time aside to do this, and I have a plan. Because here's what a lot of you guys are doing. You're getting online and doing your social media, but you're scrolling, you're looking at other stuff. Like, if you literally just had a plan to do this, you could make this happen. How many of you guys could literally, if you had 100 conversations a week, how many of you guys think that you could probably make a shit ton of money, right? Who's willing to do that? You have to be willing to do that, because that's what a lot of people. So here was my answer. And then we're going to get into the good stuff. Okay. I said I normally don't answer questions outside of the Ask Laurel thread, but I want you guys to understand something. 100 conversations a month is only 3 to 4 a day. That should not take you as long as you're saying it does. I do 100 a week, and it takes 30 minutes an hour a day to manage. That is why it's important to do prolific content. The more content you do, the more leverage you're able to use when talking to leads. You get really great at conversations. If you need cash flow, listen to this, guys. If you need cash flow, what is the other activity that you can do to get the same ROI? Can anyone tell me, like, if there's another activity that you could be doing online with your time that will give you a higher ROI than having a conversation with a lead, right? Conversations are the fastest path to cash flow. I don't know your situation, but I make messenger conversations priority after fulfillment. As a matter of fact, that is the second thing I do every single day. The first thing I do is I make sure that my Lean on Laurel students are taken care of in Voxer. The second thing, I go to my messenger and I do the work. Even right now, I have nothing to sell you guys. My $7 program is full. My Lean on Laurel program is full. I'm still having messenger conversations. Why? Why do you think I'm still having messenger conversations? Why am I still making this a priority? I'm going to let someone answer that in chat while I go. I'm like, guys, this is where sales going. If you don't learn to adapt to having conversations with your audience, I am truly worried for you. I'm serious. Like, yeah. Pipeline equity. Yeah, Jerry nailed it. Pipeline equity. I'm keeping the momentum going. Yes, Gail, warming the audience. I am keeping a temperature on you guys. Okay. The good news is, for many of you guys who are sitting in the room right now, there's opportunity if you are willing to do this work, because there are so many people who are not willing to do the work. I tell my students every single week, you should be able to identify your 10 hottest leads, meaning these are the people that if you got them on the phone, if you got them in a decent conversation, you could sell them. Every single week, we should be able to identify our 10 hottest leads and our 10 warmest leads who are going to make a great client maybe in 3 months from now. Okay. I love having conversations because I get to know my audience and I get to know exactly what problems you're dealing with, because, by the way, it changes all the time. What do you think is more effective? Me asking ChatGPT what your problems are, or asking you what your problems are? What do you think is going to be the better answer, right? Number 2. Yeah.